Hey everyone! Oh, we're in the wrong order here. There we go. Welcome to the Help Us Name Our Podcast episode. We're already off to a wonderful start. We have a description. I'll read it out now. Why not? Welcome to the very first episode of our brand new podcast, hosted by the dynamic duo, Rawle over there. Oh, wrong way. Rawle over there and Gene over here. There's just one tiny issue we have. We need to come up with a snazzy name for our show. So dive into the delightful chaos as we explore the wild world of coaching from both sides of the spectrum. As experienced coaches ourselves, we'll be pulling back the curtain and sharing our candid insights on what we've learned about ourselves in the wild ride called life. Join us as we dive into the art of showing up, uncovering our blind spots we never knew we had, and how these discoveries have shaped our lives in surprising ways. You can expect plenty of laughs, light bulb moments, and maybe even a few heartfelt tears as we journey together through our ups and downs of personal growth. So buckle up, let's embark on this hilarious, heartwarming adventure together. And don't forget, send us in your suggestions for our podcast name. We can't wait to hear your brilliant ideas, because we're all out of them.
Okay, we got that out of the way.
Well, now that's done. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you guys later. Make sure to send in those podcast names.
I thought I was here to discuss sports.
Oh, wow, this is awkward. We had to get you here somehow, Rawle.
No, I'm looking forward to this. Excuse me, this new venture. So,
well,
and it's
yeah. Well, I wanted to say this is our first time trying the live streaming with a guest that can connect to their entry areas. And you were the first one to bring a viewer in, and they've disappeared now, but it was under your feed that they were here.
Really? Well, I'm only now seeing myself on Facebook and LinkedIn, so I'm gonna
I bet it was you. Did you just close the window?
Yeah. So I showed up to our show to support our show.
Well, isn't that the antithesis of the me I don't see?
Yeah. Well, it's the first. We'll see who shows up, and I don't know how this works. These live tapings, do they get recorded as well, or if you're here, you catch it. If not, you miss it, right?
No, they're part of the internet forever now. So this is the joy.
So people can watch it at a later time, or we can reshare it on our page to capture people's comments if we want, that sort of thing.
100%.
Yeah, remember, I'm a dinosaur, so you gotta bring me along slowly. Bring me along slowly. Encourage me slowly. You gotta court me. You gotta court me.
I've been courting you for long enough. Now you're here. Now we're official.
So, all right. Well, welcome to our first podcast, the one and only podcast that will say, "Help us name our podcast." Because if we have no one that shows up, then I'm sure Gina and I will come up with a name. We've already gotten some suggestions on the link. On the LinkedIn feed, but yeah, we can we can also continue this and just put a post and get people to make just suggestions. But this is a good way to do a pilot. We didn't write a script; we're just kind of winging it as we go.
Well, I think that will be it's kind of like how life really is, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Because you can write all the scripts you want. Sometimes they just don't pan out.
Well, and I think about how long that we've known each other now and been talking about we should do something together. We should do something together. It's been years. Yeah. And I've had you on my show a number of times. Hey, Neil Shapiro, how are you? He's always he's our committed fan.
Neil.
So
if you need someone that's really good with Google Analytics, Neil's
definitely go see Dr. Data at Zen Analytics. Neil Shapiro will help you understand your data. That ad spot has been free, so make sure. Go see Neil.
I love it, though. Dr. Data. Neil and I have been actually connecting every fortnight, every 2 weeks, just in conversation. So it's been pretty cool getting to know him in that regard. So
we'll throw him up on the screen there. That's Neil. Hey, guys.
Hey, bud.
Make sure.
Nice to see you.
Make sure to go connect with him.
Yeah, like I was saying, though, I think this is a great way to, to your point, we've been talking about it for a while, but I also trust things happen when they're supposed to. And, Obviously, this is the right time. I think not just in our lives, but just in what's going on in the world. Like, there's a there's a lot of discomfort within individuals and obviously the collective. So, to me, this is a good time for us to, maybe encourage people to, well, before we encourage them, you know, talk about the importance of guidance coaching, whether you want to call it a life coach or whatever. I do use that term. I started off with that term, but I'm a guide, whatever you want to call it. But it's always,
What
to me, it's important to always have someone that when you need to sort things through and you're too close, too emotionally close to the experience, or you're too much in the experience, to have someone that can help you step out of it and maybe look at things in a different way. Or if you're looking to really do that deep internal scrub of yourself, to help have someone kind of guide you through that process. So this is why I think the timing is right, because we're definitely in some discomfort on this planet right now.
Well, and I think there's always a yes and to all that. It's like I think the discomfort's always going to be there. It's just
Mm-hmm.
how are we being aware of it? How is it showing up? And
Mm-hmm.
how do we want to be through all of that? And I say we, and I think mostly when I use that term, broad stroking it right back to me. It's like how would I want to show up, and how is working with guides like Rawle, because Rawle's been my coach in the past, my spirit animal and guide and all the things,
In the
and it's
past,
been
did I get
wow
fired? What?
wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right, and just the value of it. And I guess maybe it's an opportunity to kind of share what we were hoping to do with this, and what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to, maybe we're going to make a commitment here about how frequently we're showing up, and what
Yeah.
does that look like, and how is it different than like the live cast conversations, with how this is an opportunity for us to riff around. I think one of the things we've talked a lot about is like being open to sharing what the experiences have been like for us in our own
Yeah.
growth, and how our training has impacted that growth, how working with people, be it coaches, therapists, guides, masterminds, how all those things have made a difference in our lives, and how they
Mhm.
continue to show up to make a difference in our
Yeah.
lives, from the men I'll say, from the boy I was in man clothing, to the man I feel like I'm starting to become, and work into.
Right. No, I agree. And I don't know what this is going to turn out to be. I'm going to just be plugged into the process and to be open to what comes and to have fun with it.
Yeah,
Ultimately, it's this podcast is in conjunction with the workshop and the mastermind that we're going to be doing. And I had this idea, let's just do a podcast that coincides with those things, or maybe even links with it. I'm not sure,
yeah,
but I would like this to be a portal where people can come and listen. If you're struggling, and maybe Gene or my voice is a voice that you feel that might be beneficial to you in the work that you need to do, because this isn't about you got to choose Gene or I, but no, it's like who's not every my voice is not the right voice for everyone. um, but this is also a place where I want people to come and ask questions, and if you're struggling with things, and if you're open to talking further, we can do that. I want people to feel comfortable coming here to just listen. Maybe every so often I'll break out a poem as a poet,
yes,
and every so we'll share information. But the biggest thing I want to share is yes, I am a coach, but I'm also someone that has a coach, and someone that has used coaches, and to share a bit about my experiences with coaching, because I'm not looking to share to glorify. Oh, look what I've done. But I found that when you present yourself and you share your experiences, not just the good experiences, it's not that it makes you more human. It just makes you relatable to some degree. People
yeah,
understand. I am not, your traditional coach. I didn't go to school for it. I spent my years in the business world, and through the various trainings in that environment, has led me to where I am. And to some degree, a lot of the positions I had back in my corporate days was around people developing people and teams and so forth. And
Right.
using tools like the 7 Habits and Myers-Briggs and True Colors and a multitude of other things, in helping to develop my staff and people that I worked with, and I was able to manage. So, you know, I just want to see what this is only going to be as successful as the people that use it, and hopefully, not just those in our circle, but those outside of our circle will get a wind of this and want to come in and spend some time. Now, how often do we do this? I don't know. Do you want to make a commitment right now? Do we do once a week? I mean, we initially talked about keeping this at half hour.
Well, I think we both understood this one was probably not going to be a half an hour.
No,
I've yet to see one of our conversations be constrained by something as ridiculous as time.
That's kind of, I almost said it jokingly, because I do a recital every Sunday morning. I say not every Sunday, every third Sunday of the month, and I try to keep it 2 hours. I eventually go 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So,
well, I think we've had it. Whenever Rawle's on stage, there's always the proverbial "get the hook ready" because we're running out of time. Yeah, pull them off.
Oh, geez! Even when I was teaching at Cato, man, I was known to run a couple of my classes long, which impacted the other instructor in there. So, but no, we'll do our best to honor people's time and keep it short and concise. There's a value to keeping things short and concise, and we're inundated with so much information today. I think some people, not all, but some people are definitely tuning out to things, and I truly believe, not just because we're involved, I believe this could be beneficial for people. And it's like in my practice when I'm working with people, I'll ask them, are you ready to be brutally honest with yourself? And a lot of people will say, yeah.
Until it's time to be brutally honest. Then they're like, no, I don't want to do that.
For me, going back to, to my awakening, that moment where I had that epiphany that led to me really stepping into the abyss. I was one of those people that said, "Oh yeah, I'm really honest with myself." I was not. I was lying. I was the furthest thing from being honest with myself. I want you to sit there and think, "Well, I'm some choir boy," Yeah, I still will tell little white lies. Why? Sometimes I just don't want to be bothered with the drama of telling the truth. But I tend to keep it to things that are what I consider frivolous, not big and important. So for me, it's not about being perfect. It's about learning from the things we've done, so we can understand what we can do today and possibly for tomorrow. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, life is very repetitive. You keep doing the same things over and over and every day. And my thing is, if that's the case, then, be repetitive with the things you really want to do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, my friend. As well, there's been a whole bunch of people that are joining on. So I see you're coming in from Facebook, folks. If you want, you should be able to hit the comments there if you want to send us anything. We can always pull them up onto the screen, like our friend Neil here, who's watching on YouTube right now. So feel free to be part of this conversation, because not all the podcasts are going to be live, but this one is. So
I don't know. Maybe it will be.
Who knows?
Maybe we will. I'm liking the idea of maybe once a week, and we keep it short and sweet.
But having a topic that we can dive into, or a question maybe.
If we showed up every week with a topic or a question, and we deal with it, and then we go from there, or if we do develop an audience where people want to come and ask questions, and that's what I'm actually really hoping, people will come and ask questions and want to know more about our workshops that we're going to be putting out soon, and the assessment that's going to lead to the workshop, and then from that to the mastermind. But also, if you have life questions, you know, Deborah,
Deborah, thank you for
Deborah,
watching on LinkedIn.
I just mentioned Cato, Deborah. Deborah's a teacher at the Center for Arts and Technology, where I spent 3.5 glorious years. So in Kelowna, British Columbia. So thanks for joining.
And Ryan Lancaster, I see that like as always. You are a good
Oh,
man. Thanks for supporting
Lancaster,
everything that
man.
Rawle and I are doing.
What's up, Ryan? I can't see who's showing up, so I have to trust what Gene's telling me. I have going back to the brutal truth. I have to trust he's telling me the truth. But to me, that's the key. To me, that's the key to coaching. I think I've used this example with you before, Gene. Going to the gym just after Harris's mom and I, when we had Harris, because I'd ballooned up. I'd gotten up to almost 300 pounds. And not one of my friends said a word, which I found very disturbing. But I realized I put on weight, and then when I went and signed up at the gym in my neighborhood, and I'd go to the gym, but I'd only want to lift weights. And I decided to hire a trainer, and he wrote out this really cool program. I'd only want to do the weights, and he keep telling me the most important part of this is cardio. You need to do the cardio. Anyway, yeah, whatever. I was going to the gym. I was working out. To me, that was good enough. Come measurement times, no improvement. I think we did 2 or 3 different measurements, no improvement. And then I started getting angry with him, getting pissed off with him. Well, you're not a good trainer. What are you doing? Da, da, da. And he goes, are you doing the cardio? Anyway, long story short, he fired me. He goes, can't work with you. You talk one way, you walk a different way. And then I was like, oh,
before you step to that, what was it like for you in that stage of your life? What was it like, and how did it feel to get that feedback to go, you're talking one way, but you're walking another?
Oh, I was fully in victim mode. So it was like, what the hell are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Right? I didn't want to accept what he was saying to be truth. Right? Because if I did, then it would force me to really look at myself. But I think a part of what he said did seep in, because I went to another trainer, I think maybe after a month after that encounter, and asked her if she would train me. And she goes, why would I do that? She goes, I know the other trainer. We all work together, we talk. She goes, I'm in agreement with him.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what was said, but she agreed to work with me. And she goes, not 2 or 3 times. The first time you don't honor what you say, I'm done. And she goes, all I'm asking you to do is commit to doing cardio. She goes, you don't have to go crazy. Show up in the morning, 20 minutes on an empty stomach. Go home. Start your day. You can come back and work. Anyway, whatever it was. For whatever reason, I listened and I did it. And the results started to show. And it was probably one of the times I was probably the fittest in my life. I started off close. I think when I weighed in, I was like at 285 in January of 2003, I think is when I started. And by September of that year, my body fat went from like 37%. I was down to like 22%. I lost a bunch of weight. I was starting to get ripped because I committed to myself, not to them, but to myself. And I had to accept that truth. And I think that's probably one of the first times, well, the second time when I was brutally honest with myself and go, it's not them, it's me. I'm the problem.
Is it me? Am I the drama?
Yeah. Well, it is. It's always us. The good, bad, ugly, and beautiful. Everything that happens for us to learn and to grow from. We always welcome the good and beautiful experiences, but I can only speak for myself. I don't really learn from the good and beautiful experiences.
Well, I think they're like, oh, like, so I had a client that I'm working with and we were talking because he's in a moment of celebration, but it's been a while of hard work and like a lot of like self doubt creeps in, going, when am I going to see the results? And like that's that ugly and that's that uncomfortable place of the air quotes grind here is like
Mhm.
that's where you got to really put it in. But like the beautiful side of it is like I agree. You're gonna learn a lot when you're in being put in under pressure.
Yeah.
However, you choose to face it, and the more quicker you face it, the quicker you actually get through it.
Hmm.
But then when you get through it, there's the beautiful, there's the oasis, there's like the moment to refill your cup, and I think the power of the beautiful in this metaphor here is that it allows us to refill our energy and like kind of like get us psyched up to go back on the track
Yeah.
as well.
And you said something in that, and the way you said it, I don't know if you meant it that way, but it's hard work. Yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And generalize a bit. I think some in some circles in society, or not circle, but in there's an energy in our societies today, and it's been probably like this now for a good 10 years, where hard work is bad, and we're constantly looking to avoid hard work, and yet that's the beauty of this whole process. Is the hard is what makes it worthwhile, because you're going against, whether it's conditioning. For myself, when I talk about being stuck in a victim mindset, a victim mentality, I was stuck in a victim mentality because there were, key events in my past, in my childhood, in my teenage years, and my early adulthood that were markers that I didn't understand why they happened.
Right.
I couldn't understand why, that why question. And because of that, it kind of fueled what, the karma that I brought into this world. Right? That's what karma is not what goes around comes around. It's the energies that you've brought in from another existence. And I just
Right.
had an experience that I was telling you about, a couple of weeks ago with my mother and my stepfather, realizing that I have these deep rooted expectations of wanting to be accepted or being protected. I always felt like I was easily discarded, even as a kid, just because of various events that happened. And so I was stuck in this victim mentality. But having said that, how else would I have known? If you're talking about victim mentality, then you're going to use the word victor. How could I have gotten to a victor stage if I hadn't gone through victimhood?
Yeah.
And the key is not, for some people go, well, why do you have to go through it? Because we all have to go through it. How do you know light without dark? So we have this thing about, we don't want hard work anymore, and we don't want anything bad and anything ugly to happen. Well, that's not in my control. I can't control that. In my own life, things will
Yeah.
happen. And the question is, do you trust that you have the skills and the tools, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual fortitude to deal with whatever comes?
Yeah.
I don't worry
And
about trusting other people. I trust that I have the skills and abilities to deal with what comes.
I love that. Is like having that trust in yourself is at the utmost of everything. It's like, can you become the person you trust the most?
Yeah.
Right. And what's that journey about becoming the person you trust the most? And that's like
Yeah.
an underpinning of like what I do with my clients, and what drives me is like learning to become the person I can trust the most. That's an important piece, is like when all the cards are down, it doesn't matter now what happens externally. Even though Rawle's dogs are barking away, it's all good.
Yeah.
We're gonna let it in too, right? It's like sometimes the dogs just have to bark, and
Yeah. But I don't want it on. No.
we'll edit it out later. Um, where were we? Oh, is the trusting of ourselves is like when all the cards are down. Can we trust in our responses to the events that are occurring around us?
Hmm.
That's that trust, right? Are we going to play from the place of reactionary, of going from some old programming which served us while we were younger and there was a purpose for it and you can bless that, or are we going to choose to act the way that we want to act and towards who we want to be now?
And this
That's
is
that
why,
bigger leap, and
yeah,
that takes a lot of work because all that old programming is wired into our survival. Like at our core, there's a component of it that's there to help us survive, and we've taught
oh,
ourselves at some point that's how we survived, and it probably did help us survive when it first showed up and when
oh,
we
it did.
first used those pieces to help us survive. But there's a difference between surviving and thriving. There's
But you
also a
see,
difference between, like, are we being chased by our saber-toothed tigers anymore? And is it okay to give that piece of us a rest?
but this is why so many people have a problem looking back at their past, because they look back at their past with fear, with loathing,
Mm,
with shame, with guilt. I invite you to look back at your past and to step into your vault of wisdom. Wisdom lives in the past, does not live in the now, does not live in the future. It's attached to the experiences we've had. And that's why a lot of people are afraid to go back and look at the experience, because some of them were extremely harsh, very harsh. But when you use your past as an anvil to beat yourself up, you will just keep repeating the same patterns and you'll be stuck. So that's why I think, coach, my second earth angel, I called him. When I had my epiphany, I had one earth angel that showed up that worked with me for about 2 months, and then that led me to the second one, where we really got deep and honest, and she was hard on me. Right?
yeah.
She was hard on me. She goes, "I'm being hard on you because you're stubborn." She goes, "Not this you, this you."
Oh,
This you where fear lives, the inner child, the hurt person, whatever, likes you the way you are because it gets what it wants. And to your point, the victimhood and wanting to run away, they served us. It kept us alive for a period of time. But then after for myself, leading up to that epiphany, I was just feeling I was doing the same things and nothing was working, and it was bothering me in a way it never had bothered me before. It bothered me before, don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but it was just this heavy cross that I was carrying around. I felt like I was weighted down, and nothing
Yes.
that I did could unburden it. And at this time, I'd already had Harris, my son, you know, who I loved dearly, and he wasn't enough to drag me out of that. So this is when I realized, if I don't get right with me, none of this is going to matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much people love you and how wonderful they think you are and how they see you. If you don't see yourself that way, if you don't feel that way about yourself, it's not going to matter.
Well, I think, well, I want to add on to that there a little bit is when you're in that spot that you were talking about, because I've been there too, and we'll eventually at some point in our episodes get into that maybe, but like when you're in a position that you've got all this external like validation, like people loving you and saying, hey, seeing what you can't see, but if you've got like that shield up and you can't let that in, the first step I think is not about going, oh, looking in the mirror going, after spending 40 years of telling yourself you fucking hate yourself, going, I love you. Because all that's happening right there is going, that's a liar. You're looking
Mm-hmm.
at a liar in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you could flip that around going, I might not see it, I might not feel it yet, but what if what they're saying is true? What if there's something that I can go, I'll trust in them for
Yep.
what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and just like letting their words sit. It's
Yep.
like again, it's like a practice. It's like, how can you practice to start to break those molds? And just like going to the gym, you're not going and lifting 100 pounds a dumbbell right away. You're not running at a marathon
You
out of the
can
gate.
try.
You can try, but guess what? You're going to end up in a heap,
Yeah,
a
you're gonna
complete and total heap, and probably in worse off condition than you began with.
try.
But it's like, how do you start that incremental increase? And it's like, how do you put the reps in. And I use the gym reference a lot with my clients. Is like, let's just put the reps in today. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Let's just put in one rep that's a little bit beyond where you are now.
Yeah.
And maybe instead of looking in the mirror going, I love me, after spending all that time going, I hate me, or I hate this about me, being like, I'll be kind to myself today. I'm going to find an opportunity to be kind to myself. Doesn't mean that you have to fall in love with the person in the mirror right away, but could you be on the road to doing that?
But
maybe you don't trust the person in the mirror today, but could you be on the road to learning how to do that? And that starts real small.
It starts small. Well, it starts small, but it's a big small.
Yeah.
It starts with a choice. You have to be willing to make the choice and then commit to the choice.
Yeah.
And every day, and not even break it down further, every moment, you have to make the choice. This is why it's hard work, because you have to be willing to make that choice repeatedly.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't like repetition, and yet I always tell people, do you like breathing? Because breathing is repetition.
Yeah.
And if you don't breathe, you don't live. So get that notion out of your head. Because I think a lot of times, when you and I were putting this workshop together in the mastermind, a lot of people that might tend to take this are people that have done multiple workshops in the past. But what are you not getting? And a lot of times, we want to blame it on the workshop, the facilitator, whatever. It's like, once you left that event, what did you do? Did you actually make a solid commitment? And every day you're going to do something little that's going to improve yourself, or something little that's going to be to the coaching or the training or the workshop that you just did. And I find a lot of times we're lazy with ourselves, but we want to blame others. You have to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself. You can't fix it if you don't identify it. And then
yes.
you have to make the choice that I am worthy to make this choice again tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm going to get up tomorrow, I'm going to make my bed, and I'm going to do what I have to do. And you have to repeat it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it until it becomes a habit. And even then you have to keep repeating it, because that default never goes away.
No. And I think that's an important side right there, is that's the point, is like that default part never leaves you, right? Like you're never getting rid of any of these previously learned habits. And that's really all of our mental states are. Trigger, emotion, thought. Like that's our mental states are habitual because they follow that pattern. But you can start to capture it. You can start to break, change it and make the choices around it and go, I am choosing not to go to default mode. I'm choosing to look for variations on this that lead me in a different path. I know if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get the same results I'm getting. And if I don't like the results I'm getting, the only input to change there is what you're doing and how, I will say, how you're being with it and how you're doing it with it. It's like the feeling and the action.
The greatest thing I've learned, Gene, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you finish it?
Oh, I was just going to say the other piece, that when earlier you pointed to your head and your heart and you're speaking to your vault of wisdom, what that opens for me is seeing our heart as our vault of wisdom. And this is like a vault of knowledge. And we have to learn how to take both of those pieces and influence them appropriately.
Because they're just tools. The greatest thing I think I've learned is to be gentle with myself. And when I talk about being gentle with myself, I could still step into victim mode. Something harsh can happen in my life and I can step into it. But I also know how to step out of it. I also know I don't want to be in that. What I mean by that is I allow myself to feel the emotions and I don't question or beat myself up for having those feelings. And then I've learned through practice, I give it some time, like the situation I explained to you a couple of weeks with my mother and my stepfather. I allowed myself to be a victim because it's a situation I've been dealing with since I was 12 years old. But within 24, 48 hours, I said, okay, now I'm going to step out of this so I can really understand my feelings and my emotions. And that's when I actually figured out this wasn't about this recent situation. This was something that I think I came into this world with. And I realized it was around expectation. And I even went deeper into that. Why? Because I've done that work and I've been taught how to do it. So I don't tell people, just like you just said, whatever things that are ailing you or bothering you, don't go away. You just learn not to give into it if you commit yourself to doing the initial work, right? I think a lot of times when people go to coaching or go to these workshops, they think these, these aches or whatever, however, whatever word you want to put it, they go away. They never go away. And they're constant. I've learned not to beat myself up for thoughts that just show up. What I'm in control of is the thoughts that I put into the world. Yeah. What shows up, and all kinds of thoughts, great thoughts, bad thoughts, ugly thoughts, show up. I just don't beat myself up because I'm in charge of which thoughts I add to my internal conversation, which thought goes around on the hamster wheel with the hamster, which thoughts I'm going to put into the world. That's what I'm in control of. That's really all I'm in control of, and what I say and how I say it.
I love that because it reminds me of like on a old episode of Impact Theory. This guy named Trevor Moda was the guest, and he worked with athletes at the time, and he found that when they stopped focusing on having positive thoughts and just changing the prescription was like, don't put them out of your mouth. You can have them and let go, like you're saying, of the judgment of like, oh, I just had that thought, but you don't have to speak it, because when you speak it, that reinforces it. When you write it down, that reinforces it. So it's like looking at those places where you could just even stop and change that pattern of going, it's okay, I've had this and that's okay. How am I going to, what do I now choose to reinforce?
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay that I just had that, but I'm not living there.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus going, oh, I'm a piece of garbage, saying that out loud, right? Is like, even just those little, there's a tactical thing for everybody to take. If you're struggling with negative self-talk, we all do. I do all the time.
I still get it all the time.
it's a choice to spit it out loud and bring it into reality. So the tactical takeaway here today is that's the one place you want to work on over the next week while we're doing our episodes. We'd love to hear about that from you. Is like, what was it like not putting that into reality for a week? Consciously choosing not to bring that into reality.
And to me, that's part of being gentle with yourself, is developing those techniques that you can really have different conversations. I think I shared with you, I do 2 online poetry shows. And before every show, the voice of doubt comes in. Oh, you can't do this. It's gonna be terrible. No one's gonna show up. Blah blah blah. Still to this day, I was telling my sister. She goes, "Really? You?" I go, "Yes." It's relentless. It never stops. I've just learned not to give into it. I have too much intel now in my vault of wisdom that says that's a lie. That's an irrational thought that I do not need to give any energies to, other than thank you for showing up. Thank you for the reminder. You're a lie. You have to go now. And it goes. So
the other perspective on that, like, I do a show too, and that stuff shows up every time. If I'm doing a speech, if I'm doing a workshop, even when I'm going in session with a client, is like the flip of that. The other perspective I play with is like, oh, thanks for reminding me that I care.
Yeah.
You show up so much to be like, oh, I really want you to do a good job. That's the underlying message I now take from it and go, hey, high five, thank you. I'm going to put you, the little saboteur, in the car. You could stay there while we're doing the thing, but thank you for reminding me that this is about caring about the other person, or caring about bringing, being in service, or whatever that is in that instance. Is like, there's a whole bunch of ways to view what that message is, or what the messenger is trying to really get across.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I think the viewers are getting a taste of what this podcast is going to be about. One of the things I'm sure we'll uncover many. If you don't mind, Gene, I just wanted to share real quick. Uh, a number of people on my Facebook group. I'm kind of liking this live thing. Jumped on my friend Marianne, who lives in Saint Martin in the West Indies. Goes, best of luck with the new initiative. My friend Kathy, who was in Kelowna, she now lives down in Grand Forks, says, sounds like you guys are talking about looking inward, and our greatest evolution happens in our discomfort. Because you guys are trying to share this, but is it getting that it's unavailable? Oh, I guess, I don't know, maybe she had problems reconnecting. My friend Sharon, who I have not seen or heard from in years, is looking good, Rawle. So there's a few other comments of people, but I think this is a great idea. I think you know, at the end of the day, it's just two guys that's going to be chatting and sharing. Maybe once a week. If we do this once a week, we'll share just a little techniques that you can practice for yourself. Ultimately, why we're doing this, we do want to be of service. We want to help reach and I always tell people I'm a servant. I'm a servant to our humanity. Yeah. But make no mistakes. There's a business component as well. We want to attract clients. We want people that truly want to invest in themselves, not just in time and energy, but money. That we have to live as well, and we want. I can't speak for you, but for myself, I want to work with people that are serious about truly transforming themselves and doing the heavy lifting, doing the dirty work. I've worked with other coaches. I've worked with other people that have done workshops, and they always seem to feel unfulfilled by what they've gone through. And just from listening to Gene and I, we're saying a lot of the same things, but we say it differently. So, there are two different voices here, two different styles. Maybe down the road we'll invite another coach, or every month maybe we'll invite a coach and interview them and talk about them. I don't know. All I know is that
maybe we'll invite a coachee that wants to come on and is maybe brave enough to be.
Maybe we'll do that. But ultimately, this is when people say there aren't a lot of tools and things out there, this is an avenue for you to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And today is fun, and we're just really talking. And I do hope you do give suggestions on what we should call this podcast. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what we call it. It's not going to fly. It's not going to work if you don't support it. If you don't tune in, or tell your friends about it, because the way things are going in this world right now, at least in the Western world, it feels like we're going to hell in a handbasket. And no, the world's not going to stop tomorrow, and it's not going to start in 12 years. I don't believe that. Some of my Christian friends, believe that, Jesus is coming and we're at the end of days. I don't believe that either. But I do believe we're transforming. I do believe we're at that precipice where we're looking at what does it mean to be human now. We've got thousands of years of intel to draw from. And if you look at history, we've been repeating certain patterns. And maybe we're at that point now where we're saying, are we ready to do Human 2.0? But in order to do that, we have to do different. And what's the we? The we starts with the I. One of the things you learn in the 7 habits, when you look at the different paradigms, there's the me, the I, and then the we. Right. And a lot of times people want to jump from the me to the we. You have to go through the I before you get to the we. Yeah. Right? You can't just jump right into love if you don't know what that means, if you don't really understand what the we means and how the we operates. And the we operates when the I is strong, when you are strong with yourself, when you're strong within. It's like this human heart. I use this all the time, not so much because of the mechanics of it, but what it represents. And the human heart, when it's pumping fresh blood to the body, the first thing it feeds is itself. But it only takes what it needs, and then it distributes the rest. I invite people to be like the human heart. Make yourself strong mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Who are you? And what are the things that are holding you back from not what you want to achieve in business or in how you want to be as a person? Because you know inside if you feel good, if you feel happy, or if you don't.
Yeah.
That's the brutal honesty that I invite people to get into. So.
I love that. We are kind of bumping up against our time slot
Okay.
here. So the one thing, Rawle, that we've hinted at the entire time is a workshop, a mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're coaches. We both do one-on-one support. We're doing this show through Peel Back, and an upcoming, I guess, assessment and workshop that we're working on is the Me I Don't See.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an opportunity for, as Rawle says, to get brutally honest, but to invite that brutal honesty back out. It's going to start with an assessment, which is 3 questions. It's all driving around: how do I show up? What's impact does this have? What's one truth you wish I knew about myself?
Mm-hmm.
This is an opportunity to send those 3 questions out to 15 people that are close to you or that you would value their information. When you get that back, there's going to be some beauty in that, and probably some ugly that we're going to have to work through. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the next part of leading into the Me I Don't See workshop. Is those who are going to take the assessment will be invited to come join the workshop and debrief through that with us. And as well, we'll be building a mastermind around us supporting people,
Mm-hmm.
Rawle from the spiritual coaching side and me from what I like to call lifting the fog. And really that ties into how we connect that into our more action around business and life and some hobbies. And I believe there's a beautiful relationship between what we both do, and that's what we're bringing out and
Yeah,
through Peel
definitely.
Back.
And I know one of the things we're both committed to is helping leaders. And
Yeah.
when you talk about leaders, I'm not just talking politics. I want good leaders in business. I want one of the things I'm getting involved with that's neither here or there. I'm sure I'll talk about it down the road. Is ethics. Um, a professor friend of mine out of India is very much into ethics, and I think we're missing ethics today. But we really need to redefine what that means, and not redefine the original meaning, but what does that mean today? When you talk about ethics, are we talking about an operating standard of how we all kind of operate, or are we talking about what we stand for? So, but to me, we have an opportunity to, whether you want to call it namaste or spiritual business, I prefer to use ethical business, not just in where you work, but even in your home and how you operate. All I know is this: more times than not, doing the right things is hard to do.
Yeah.
And this is where people think they don't have choice. It's not that they don't have a choice, they just don't like the choice that's being presented. And a lot of times doing the right things is not easy, and it may not benefit you, but that doesn't make it wrong. And I think it's something we need to look at in order to really understand ethics and how you want to walk this walk. Like even when I go to the store, and if a clerk gives me the wrong change, back in the day, yeah, I would probably walk away with it and take it and think somehow I got over them. Now, not even a pack of gum I want to do that. But why? I don't. It's not about what other people see me and think. I know inside if I did that, I would not feel good about me. So I
Pulls
do
right
it
back to
for me. So
trusting yourself.
trusting yourself and having the intestinal fortitude to do that every time. So, I think that's what we're offering, at least here today. Who knows what episode 2 is? I think we've made the commitment. We're going to do it every week. I'm really enjoying this live process. I've been part of other venues that have done live, but myself, I've never taken part in something where I've done it live. So I like this. I like the immediate feedback. And, we may not get any suggestions today, but I invite you, if you're listening to this again, or even before you leave, throw a name for what the podcast is. And the sillier, the better. I don't know.
We would love something silly.
Yeah, we're not saying we're going to do it, but we're definitely going to take it under serious advisement.
None of us get out of this alive, so we may as well have some fun while we're doing it.
Yeah. And when you talked about earlier, we've been talking about doing this for years. Well, all I know is right now, today, as we're
We did it.
winding this up, this feels good. This feels right. This feels timely, and to be doing it with you now, and knowing the trials and tribulations you've been through over the last 2 or 3 years, and being fortunate to be invited in and helping you through those processes. This is the right time. That's why I trust the time. That's why I always trust the universe and her timing. So,
Well, and I think Deborah, I love this comment. I'm loving this. Make sure to let me know when the next one happens. You will be
definitely,
on the invite list. But,
yes,
Neil's participated throughout this as well. And it sounds like we've got some comments on your posts
yeah,
on
yeah.
Facebook. Tells us that we're maybe onto something, Rawle.
Yeah, we may be. I do.
Maybe.
All kidding aside, and there's no boastfulness in this. I think it's timely.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, I'm pretty sure we're not the only one. There's others out there doing amazing podcasts, but this is
100%.
what we're doing. This is our time, and I do believe it's timely.
Yeah.
I walk a very simple walk, and my only, it's not even an expectation, it's just a hope. I'm just hoping what I do contributes to the shifting of our human consciousness, because it's only together we get to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And not just us, with all of life. Life isn't just humans. Life is this planet. Life is the animals. Life is the greenery. It's everything.
It's everything and everywhere.
Yeah, and we're fortunate to live during these times on this planet. Okay. Right? All I know is, when I had that moment at 40, I always tell people I was a victim before that. After that, I became a victor. That does not mean I still don't have moments, right? But I've learned to walk in the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful at kind of the same tempo, and welcome it all. Be able to step
I really like that share of like walking it all at the same tempo.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. Yeah. And then again, I always say, I could be full of S. I could have lost my mind a while ago. I accept all possibilities, but until further notice, I'm going to do this. This is what I feel every day, Neil. Yeah. Gene. Sorry, Neil. I know you're better looking than him, but honestly, I'm being very honest. Every day I feel that I fall more in love with myself. Every day I like I like the man that I am. I don't have any regrets. That does not mean there are things that I've done in my past that I don't like. But holding on to regret only harms me, and I can't go back and undo anything that I have done.
Yeah.
I can just choose to learn from it.
I love that, Rawle.
So
I think that's important. Important place to kind of land it on. Well, what I hear from all of our conversations today, I think we've dropped enough little nuggets that we could make multiple episodes and 20-minute deep dives on.
Can I get hot barbecue sauce with those nuggets?
Hell yeah. Is there any other way to go?
Come on, man. I'm not a comedian. I just think
we find ourselves hilarious, so
I'm gonna just crack myself up all the time. Why
You're
not?
Such an egg.
That's oh, you crack me up. Oh, that must hurt. Well, why not, though? Why not? Let's have fun with this. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that smile. Look at when he smiles. You're a different person. But why not have fun with it? Why the heck not? Hard work isn't the issue. We know how to work hard. We'll work hard for other people. We're inviting you to work hard for you.
Yeah.
That's what we're inviting you to do. For you. Fight for you. You're worth the fight. You're worth it. And to steal some of Gene's thunder. Are you tired of being in the fog?
There's better ways.
The fog has served you. Now it's time to benefit from your time being in the fog.
Yeah. And I think that's that's a prime message as well. Is like maybe we'll talk about that on a future episode. Is like all those things can serve, right? Like
Yeah.
being in that fog, not really knowing where you're going, but still deploying all that energy, hoping to get there, is like there's lessons in that too,
Yeah.
and it's necessary, and it gets you when you choose to lift it, when you choose to slow down, when you choose, like Rawle says, to walk with it at the same pace as everything else. Magic starts to happen.
And it's not the destination. It's like, this is what, 2003, so 12 years ago, we won the junior bantam football championship in BC when I was living out in Kelowna, and my son Harris was our quarterback. And when Harris and I talk about that, we rarely talk about the championship game. We talk about the process of getting to the championship game.
Yeah, it's always the journey.
And man, we worked those boys so hard that year. But before we did anything, we had a chat with them. We took them down to a tournament, and they got to see the potential that lied in the team. And then we came back and we said, if we think we're as good as we are and where we can end up, which is being in the finals, one of the last two teams standing, then this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
And they bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And they worked. Man, did they work. They gave us everything. And very rarely did they gripe about it. We had so much fun grinding that season. That now when Harris and I talk about it, when he's going through the trials of life, I'll always remind him, how did we win that championship? He goes, we worked. I go, exactly. So you know what to do. He goes, got it, Pops. We rarely talk about the finals. We talk about the process of getting there. And that's what this life is about. To me, that's part of the joy of this, is the process. This is why, if that
the process of getting there,
that magical genie really did exist and said, hey, I could send you back, I'd be like, where's the can of Ray? Go away. Go away. I would not go back and undo anything. The only thing I would take him or her up on is if I could play football just one more time. But you understand what I mean. So.
I do understand what you mean, brother.
Are we committed to doing this every week?
I think we're going to commit to doing. We'll talk about the live, but our goal as well is to like bring this as an audio podcast. So it's not just going to be on video. We want these things to go wherever, and we also know that it's going to take a little while to get its feet under itself as for how we format this and what do we call it and how do we present it. So for the next little while, it will be a little all over the map. We're going to pick a date and time that is going to be consistent when those episodes will drop. So that's what we can commit to, and we're going to be working towards that, and we'll share that. And as well, once the me I don't see assessment's ready, we'll let everybody know. And maybe that's something we launch the next episode with too.
Yeah. It's funny when initially looking at the assessment questions, I know you're working on it, and I'm really following Gene's lead in it. My job is to support this man and to get Peel back where he wants it to be. But I made my list of the 15 people I want to send it to. And I'm going to ask him to do two things. I'm going to ask him to do the questions on me, right? And then get them to take the same questions and sending out to their people to get feedback on themselves.
Yeah.
Because
I was going to be doing as well.
Oh, okay. We never talked about that.
We're aligned. Look at that.
We're aligned, see?
I would say great minds think alike, but I also have heard fools seldom differ, so...
Well, great minds and fools is a fine line, and at the end of the day, they're the same idiots. So, sometimes you need to be a fool before you become a great mind.
This is true. You got to play.
Everything serves a purpose. Everything serves a purpose. Everything. One of the greatest things that I learned from some of the harshest experiences I had from a kid and as a teenager, it's like obviously in hindsight and doing the internal work was how strong I was.
Yeah.
My father, my stepfather, my uncle, they tried to break me. They couldn't. They couldn't. Still here. Y'all made me strong for a reason. So, some you'll learn things in hindsight, and then you'll get to a point where, the time frame and learning in the hindsight, and it gets shorter and shorter to the point where it's sometimes things are happening, and you're also seeing the wisdom unravel right before you. So, all I know is more times than not, I have this joy within that comes out.
Yeah.
I'm loving life. It's not hard. It's just life. But I also accept I could be delusional.
Yeah.
And I could have lost my mind a long time ago. And if this is what losing your mind is, sign me up, because it feels really good to feel this good about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely didn't feel that when I was 5, when I was 15, when I was 25, when I was 35, when I was 45. So anyway, I'll shut up now.
All right, brother. Well, let's wrap it up. So thank you. There's still people watching. You've made it all this way through. That's incredible. Thank you for sticking with us. And again, feel free to share what your thoughts are about what we talked about today. We are going to be watching the posts on LinkedIn and Facebook. That would be great. And if you've got any questions, share them with either of us. Reach out on, you can always private message either of us or post them on the shares, and we'll go from there. And we'll definitely let you know when the assessment's ready for all of you, and when to expect more of this fun coming along.
Name our show. Name our show.
And we'll keep it under an hour going forward. Maybe. That we're not going to go full commit to that.
Okay, no. This is what I'm going to commit to. I'm not going to commit to a half hour, but I will commit to keeping it no longer than 60 minutes.
All right.
Because you and I do talk, but it's not just talking for the sake of talking. I do think what we're offering is of value to some people. So I think an hour feels good. It flies by because you and I can obviously talk, but we'll have more content that we're going to bring into this as we go along. Like I said, we're figuring this out as we go, and we're just inviting you to come along for the ride. It's going to be fun. If you like roller coasters, this is the perfect ride.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. We're not going to be traveling at an altitude of 35,000. We're going to be traveling at an altitude that's about 10 feet, that'll swoop you up to 30 and then drop you like a hot stone. So, and then go around and around. And I don't know. Let's just have fun as we do this.
Yeah.
Man. Why not? So.
It is the roller coaster of life, and we're here for it.
And I love you, brother. I
love you as well.
Just love
and
creating with you. So.
All right. Well, everybody else, we're going to go off the air, and we will see you all next week, hopefully. All right, Rawle. And everybody else, thank you.
Be gentle with yourself, people.